Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back in the Grosse Kurfürst for an experiment. And one that I think most people will probably not see coming, actually. Well, you may have seen this experiment coming, but you probably wouldn't expect me to jump in the Kurfürst of my own free will. However, I wanted to try Azure Lane Prince Heinrich on the Kurfürst. As you guys know, I've been going through, ever since I got my butt kicked by that Bismarck that was running Heinrich, I had to try it, right? And I tried it on the Bismarck, I've tried it on a couple of the Germans anyway. And I've really enjoyed it. I know it's kind of crazy. Spartan enjoying German battleships. What the f is the world coming to? But no, one of the things I wanted to try, because I've never, ever had a problem with the Grosse Kurfürst gun performance. I felt like the guns were good in the Kurfürst. Always. Problem is, the Kurfürst is just so goddarn big, and those rear firing angles are terrible that you end up broadside way more often than you should, and you end up taking a boatload of damage because of it. That's been my issue with the Kurfürst, and that's why I generally don't play it. But there's a reason that I prefer the Kurfürst over the Bourgogne. And a lot of people argue with me, like, no, Spartan, what do you mean? Bourgogne is a good ship. I can't stand the Bourgogne. I love French battleships. Y'all know this. I can't stand the Bourgogne. So one of the things I've been doing is kind of going through and, like, playing around with some different ships I ain't played in a while. And Kurfürst is one of those. So here we are with our build. Azure Lane Prince Heinrich with Andrew Cunningham and Azure Lane Colorado as our inspirations. We are running Flammable Cannoneer, we are running Gyrating Drill Bits, we are running Marksmanship, and we are running the fancy Heinrich's Hunch Punch, which gives us even more range and main battery shell grouping. The whole purpose of this build is to get as many shells to hit the target every time you pull the trigger as possible, right? That's our whole goal with this build. And this perk goes a long ways towards that. We are also running Fight Fire with Fire because we only have 2 heals with this build. You could run Master Mechanic if you wanted. But again, I feel like if you're going to go full dispersion build and grouping build, you just go full for it, right? So you're going to lose your heals. Now, if you feel like maybe the extra 6% range and shell grouping isn't worth it and you want to go for the Master Mechanic, I totally understand. Gives you a little bit more survivability. But I'm going to try to showcase why I don't think it's necessary. So with that being said, let's look at the rest of it. We are running Aiming System Mod 1. Of course, again, just trying to maximize our accuracy on this build. We are running the Damage Control System Mod. Again, we only have 2 damage controls, so I want to make sure that we try to get all of the shells on target as possible and prevent ourselves from taking as much damage as possible so that those 2 heals don't feel near as bad as they normally do. Now, you can argue that you want to run Propulsion Mod, and that's your choice. Again, with this build, I don't think Propulsion Mod is necessarily the right choice. You absolutely could take steering gears with this build because, again, you want to be trying to get your guns on target. But, again, if you're going to play this build, I don't think you're going to be a frontline brawler like a lot of people think the Kurfürst is. You're going to be more of a mid to long range sniper with this build. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, Spartan, the Kurfürst is not a sniper. You're wrong. The Kurfürst has always been a sniper. These guns are actually really good. The problem is that it's just, at the end of the day, it's still a Kurfürst, and you end up getting slapped around if you're not careful. And this build gives you enough accuracy and enough range that you can be a problem for the enemy team because you get pretty consistent results. Now, we are obviously running Concealment System Module, again, just trying to keep ourselves from being the first thing everything shoots at, right? And then, of course, we are running the Main Battery Mod 3 Epic version because we don't get the American Artillery Plotting Room over here. So we want to maximize our reload time here. Now, it does reduce your traverse speed a little bit, so keep that in mind. But again, with this build, that's not the end of the world. Your goal is going to be to keep your distance and slap people's broadside, punish them for making the stupid mistakes that people are going to make in this game. We already know, right? You see it every day. And then, of course, we are running the 420 millimeter guns. We're not running the 406s. Now, you could probably get away with the same thing on the 406s. I personally have never used the 406s on this, so I don't know how good they are. But I love the 420s, always have. The 420s on this thing have always been good. I've never had an issue with the Kurfürst guns as the problem with the Kurfürst. But what does all of this give us, right? We do have 7 spotter planes. And of course, we are using the spotter plane and not the secondary booster. Again, we are not a secondary build for this, so we are going for full accuracy, right? So we get an extra 10% shell grouping when we use these planes, if we remember to use the planes. I forgot to swap my flag again, so we're going to go ahead and do that because I like the Hector flag better. From a specs, we only have 105,000 hit points. You could absolutely get this thing up to 115,000 hit points with the right inspirations like Hyde and what's his name, Sims. But again, I don't think it's necessary. We do have 30% or 32% fire resistance with this build. Even though we're running flammable cannoneer, we do have that damage control, so that helps a little bit. And then main battery. Here's the kicker, guys. 420 millimeter 48 caliber DRH LC 40s. We have 12 of them reaching out to 19.7 kilometers. Why is this important? Because this basically maximizes your range without having to get into the RCA mod or RGA mod, which means that anytime if you didn't know this, if you're running concealment module, you cannot see a ship that's beyond 20 kilometers, even if it's within your firing range. Okay? And the reason they do that is because they want you to give up concealment if you want to play as a sniper, for obvious reasons. Anyway, the reload time's actually pretty decent as well, 27.8 seconds with this build. Okay, and that gets better for every 30,000 damage we do. Keep that in mind. And then main battery turret traverse. Now this is the part where we take a little bit of a negative, but it's still 35.8, which is totally reasonable for a battleship. The shell grouping, though, guys, we have a 2.2. I don't know if you guys know what that means, all right? For the average person who doesn't know what that means, just put it this way. That's very, very good. Okay? It's extremely good. Max range vertical dispersion 129.1. Max range horizontal dispersion 215.1. I don't know if that, like, I'm assuming that's good for Battleship, but I'm just saying, like, I don't look at those numbers all that often. The number that I look at is the grouping, which is 2.2 in this case, which is extremely good, okay? Now, if we look at the main guns here, the other thing is, I think that, I don't know, maybe this thing could challenge the Preußen in terms of reliability, solely due to the weight of its broadside. Preußen has 18-inch guns. It fires faster. I think the Preußen is still technically better. But, hear me out. 12 guns is still 50% more firepower per salvo. Just say it. And this thing has really good ballistics as well. And that's something that a lot of people get caught off guard by, because this thing will crush you if you're not careful. Kurfursts have always been able to just get some weird citadel angles on people, and it's mainly because of how flat their shells come in. It's almost reminiscent of a Russian battleship when it gets inside 12 kilometers, just how flat the shells come in. And that leads to a lot of citadels on people because the shells are coming at a lower angle. If your shells are coming out of the goddamn stratosphere because you're shooting at long range like American shells do, they tend to lob at a ballistics trajectory that's much higher. When those shells come in, sure, you're getting the plunging fire through the decks, and that's what leads to huge superstructure hits and stuff like that on people. However, what tends to happen when you're shooting at a broadside is those shells are arcing to the target and they hit too high, leading to the shells ending up going through and overpinning a lot of broadsides because they hit too high. They hit up on the upper side plating, they hit up into the superstructure, so they don't hit the citadel. Whereas the Kurfurst, you give this thing a broadside, the shells are much flatter trajectory. They're coming in at a lower angle, meaning that if you aim for waterline, you're going to hit waterline or slightly below, and that ends badly for anybody dumb enough to give this thing a broadside. And when you consider that this thing has pretty good main shell damage, we have 14,965 maximum AP shell damage. That's solid, okay? That's not bad. Muzzle velocity, 800 meters per second. Again, I don't really get into the overall muzzle velocity. I don't know what's good, what's bad. But armor penetration at point blank is 835 millimeters. Armor penetration at max range is 502. That's important, y'all. The reason that's important is because that means it can pin a lot of the armor belts at maximum range of battleships. Okay? We'll go over that in a minute. Minimum ricochet angles, I think these are the same for most ships, is 45, 60. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is actually a little bit worse than most. Because I thought it was like... I don't know. I'll have to look at the Montanas to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. But you need 70 millimeters of arming threshold for the fuse to arm, and then fuse timer is .033. Again, I don't know all that much about these stats. I've never looked at these, so I don't know what's good, what's bad. But the main thing to remember is that if you give this thing a broadside, it's going to hurt you. And I'm going to show you guys the stats of the Montana real quick, the ballistics, so we have a something to go by in terms of the overall gun performance, right? So again, the Montana shell grouping, 2.06 with our build currently. Now again, ours isn't a full accuracy build, okay? Ours is not a full accuracy build. The initial was 1.9, okay? So the Kurfurst build that I have is more accurate than my Montana currently. Just throwing that out there. And does more damage per shell. You getting it yet? And the armor penetration is better at max range. And yeah, it does have the same pin angles as the Montana, which was the thing that we were looking at. Okay? So that's what I wanted to showcase you guys real quick. Now, I'm glad that we have all these stats that we can now look at. Where's my Kurfurst? Because I've never paid attention to any of these stats before. So everything that I've done and learned in the game, I've had to learn the old-fashioned way, which is just trial and error. You shoot, see what happens, what works, what doesn't work, and then you try different things later on. But overall stats of my ship, and I think this is something that'll probably start to get better. I've played 147 matches. I've got a 40% main gun accuracy. That is on par with every other battleship that I play, right? Like, that just shows that the Kurfurst problem has never been accuracy. And now it's even more accurate. But my average damage is 93,000, which is a little lower than most of my legendary tier battleships. And that's solely due to the survivability of this thing. Again, it is just a punching bag. So keeping its distance is actually a very good thing. And here's another thing that kind of points to that. The potential damage on this thing seems good. 1.3 million potential damage. But that's really only on par with my Iowa. And that's tier 7 Iowa, right? Not just regular old Iowa. That's the kind of like potential survivability average that I've had with this thing compared to, some of my other legendary tiers. So that's what I wanted to bring up, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we were talking about. Okay. But anyway, with all of that being said, I know I've been talking a lot, but let's go ahead, take the Kurfurst out, show you guys what this build is like. Alrighty, so we're going to be on trap, and we are in the Grosse Kurfurst using the Azure Lane Heinrich build. Now, one thing that I want to be absolutely clear on is that I couldn't have done what I did in this match without my teammates that were capable of doing their jobs in their respective positions. Most notably, a Gdansk that puts himself in a great position at the beginning of the match and ends up countering an enemy destroyer. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is that there's 8 destroyers per team. This is not an ideal scenario for a Kurfurst and damage, right? Because damage generally means you have a lot of targets to shoot at. We don't actually have that many targets to shoot at, which makes the amount of damage that we do in this match, I think, even more impressive. Because this is the best game that I've ever played in the Kurfurst. That says something. I think. I'm pretty sure this is my maximum damage I've ever gotten in the Kurfurst. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. But we're going to push over towards the right side. You'll notice on the minimap we have one battleship on the left. I don't want to put my battleship in the same position as that battleship. I want to put my battleship in a place where it could be used the most, which is over on the right. We have a destroyer over there. We have another destroyer heading that direction. We have 2 cruisers over there basically by themselves. So by me moving over there, I'm giving that side of the map some of the knockout firepower that the left side already has with the battleship that spawned there. Does it make sense? You don't want to put all of your heavy hitters in one spot, and this is something that we see constantly all around the board. You put all your battleships in the same spot, and then what happens is being able to negate your effects is much easier, right? Like, I can just angle against your whole team. But Hector, this guy probably just got this ship and took it out and had no idea what was coming. The most accurate battleship that I own currently. Yeah. That's a bad day. right? And we've all been there. And then on top of that, he just misses the shot, so he didn't get any damage. Man just pulled up, went broadside, died immediately, as he should. You're in a squishy ship. Why are you charging in straight off the bat? Now here we got a good look at the broadside of the Wisconsin, so we're going to go ahead and take that shot. Chungmu is actually pushing in to grab the Charlie cap, and there's nobody spotting me currently, which gives me a good idea of where everybody's located on the map, meaning that there's nobody over here. Nobody's contesting, the Izmu's running, the Wisconsin sitting broadside, we slapped him. We're already at 50,000 damage, we fired the guns twice. Right? Like, that's pretty solid, you know, accuracy. And so Wisconsin starts to move forward. We go ahead and aim the shot ahead of him, expecting him to run into these. And I mean, look at that accuracy, y'all. It's hard to comprehend just how accurate this ship is compared to other battleships right now. And again, I want to start looking at more accuracy builds just to see if I can make, you know, something. You guys know I've always been kind of the accuracy person, but I've played exactly 2 matches tonight in my Kurfurst with this build. 2 matches, and you saw the best match that I've ever played in the Kurfurst, or you're seeing it right now. Now, Sumner gets spotted. I was ready to shoot him through the gap, but didn't need to. So, glad that we didn't have to fire the guns there. But Wisconsin's starting to pull forward, and he's currently being burnt down by our 2 destroyers, or maybe the cruiser behind or over there. Our Hector decides to pull up, drop some torpedoes, and he's broadside, but nobody's here to do anything about this, right? So am I just sitting back hiding behind islands? No. Even though I am a sniper build, I'm still a battleship. There's nothing for me to fear here. It's clear that all the other destroyers are over on the other side of the map. You can see it on the mini-map, right? Or at least you can see 2 of the 3. We don't know where the last one is, so he could be out here somewhere. But again, Wisconsin completely disrespects my GK, and he pays the price. He didn't get citadel. Again, Wisconsin at short range has a very low citadel. It's below waterline. So citadeling to Wisconsin up close and personal is almost impossible. Not impossible, but almost. And so I'm not looking to get citadels on the Wisconsin at these ranges, right? We're sub 10 kilometers. You're not citadeling him most likely, especially with the flat ballistics that we have. But what we are doing is getting as many shots on target as possible. Now, he starts to angle towards us, but he's a little too late. Fortunately for him, he survives because he got 2 shells to shatter and 1 shell to ricochet off of that salvo. Otherwise, he's probably dead, right? That was just a really bad play by him. He's beached broadside, but now he's angled. And you can see there is the last destroyer right out here, and our Chungmu is sending him to the Shadow Realm as we speak. But Wisconsin starts to push forward. We're going to go ahead and drop another shot into a superstructure from the front. And you can see, I mean, it's just accurate. You just put the shells where you want them, right? Like, that's the beauty of this build. And you see the torps coming in. He's going to dodge the torps, so fair play to him. The destroyer completely whiffs by stacking all of his torps. Again, it's just a bad play there. But we're going to push in, and you can see I get frustrated here as I'm about to pull the trigger. But the game was not letting me aim towards him, and of course in true Spartan fashion we leave him with just enough to get away. Like, we literally hit him flat broadside, knowing we're not going to citadel him, right? But I expected him to die, and of course we got 1 overpin which left him alive. And my teammate kills him. It's just the way it goes, right? Welcome to Spartan Elite 43. That's just how we do things. 116,000 damage though, and we're just getting started, folks. Believe it or not. With the Montana, again, everybody disrespects the GK. I've got 12 17-inch guns coming to you. Now, yes, we're going to take a big hit too. But I'm confident in my ability to citadel him and not get citadeled back. Right? That's the difference. Now, I don't think we actually citadeled him on that first shot. But he's still sitting broadside as hell, begging for it. So we're going to snipe his citadel right here. We're going right in front of the front turrets. He's barely creeping around. Look at that shot. Blam, 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 blam. Right where we want it. Right into the turrets. We don't want to hit the main armor belt that's slightly angled. We want to hit just in front of it at those front turrets. And, I mean, the result speaks for itself. That salvo right there basically solidified the Montana's ability to get slapped around, right? And that's where the GK has the advantage. GK Preußen, we have the turtleback armor, so we get into these trades. You're just not out-trading us if you're sitting broadside. You're just not. Because I have just as much firepower as you, and I'm not taking citadels while you are. Does that make sense? That's why a lot of people don't understand the power that these ships really have in a fight. And you can see here, the defense on the other side of the map is shooting me because he's got nothing else to shoot at. The battleship over there is behind an island, so he's not spotted. The cruiser's sitting in the same position. But we take a shot here at the Montana. We shoot both shells just in case, or both turrets just in case. And then we start to rotate the rear guns around to shoot the defense here. But unfortunately, by the time, and again, this is where a little bit slower than normal, turret traverse probably cost us, but it doesn't matter. He's going to go down. As soon as we fire the guns, he ends up eating torpedoes and getting finished off by fires. But Ismo here, I mean, this guy's done nothing but run away for the entire match, so I'm not really worried about this Ismo. But we've got 210,000 damage. That just shows just how much we took off of that Montana, right? Like, we literally took everything that guy had. And we're starting to work on the Ismo now too. Now this guy is angling, so we don't want to be shooting the belt. Again, you're going to see a little bit of testing here, just where I fire at the armor belt knowing that I'm probably not going to pin, but I also know that because of these shells' flat trajectory, that sometimes these shells will pin where you don't expect them, right? But here, he's angling away. A lot of our shells are missing. That's on me, just bad shots. But we're also watching him get closer and closer to the border, right? Like, the man's is eventually going to have to turn, one way or the other. Maybe he just goes into the border and stays there as like a little turd waffle, but more often than not, people turn. So we're just going to hold. We don't need to fire the guns. You can see he's already committing to his turn, so we just wait. There's no reason to fire the guns too early here. He takes a shot at us. We go ahead and take it as he's committed to the turn, and he's actually slowed down quite a bit, more than I expected, so we end up hitting farther forward, but that probably helped us on that shot, because if he'd been full speed, there's a good chance a lot of those shells would have hit the armor plate and or armor belt and maybe wouldn't have done as much damage. But at this point, he's done. We've taken enough damage off of him that I'm pretty confident that our next shot is going to finish him off. And of course, if he's able to shoot us, we're able to shoot him back. And look at that shell grouping, man. That's hard to argue with. I am shocked at how effective Heinrich is for these German battleships at making them dangerous. But 237,000 damage, first blood, high caliber, and dev strike, and almost 3k base. So almost my best XP and my best damage game in a game where there was 4 destroyers on both sides. Imagine if we had more people to shoot at, how much damage we could have got. So, have I finally figured out, and I know I'm not the first one to come up with a Heinrich build, but still, maximizing the grouping and dispersion on these battleships is starting to become a problem for everybody if you're not careful. And let me know if you guys are going to try this build out, if you have it. If you don't have it, then no big deal, but it is interesting, to say the least. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below if you like what I'm doing. Punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.